afternoon. Good afternoon, and welcome to the National Press Club. My name is Catherine Kaler. I'm a reporter for Newhouse Newspapers, and I'm president of the Press Club. I'd like to welcome my fellow club members and their guests in the audience today, as well as those of you who are listening to this program over one of the more than 400 national public radio stations or watching on one of the 3,600 cable systems affiliated with C-SPAN. Before introducing the guests at our head table, I'd like to remind our members of some coming events. Tomorrow, December 13th, Ambassador Robert Strauss will be here, and on December 16th, His Excellency Anand Panjarachoon, the Prime Minister of Thailand, will speak. On January 15th, Oliver Stone, and on January 16th, Senator George Mitchell will join us. Audio and videotapes of club luncheons are available through the National Press Club Library or by calling 1-800-952-TAPE. I'd also like to remind our guests here today, if you have any questions for our speaker, please write them on the cards provided at your table and pass them up to me. I'll ask as many as time permits. And now I'd like to introduce the guests at our head table. I'd ask them to stand briefly when their names are read, and I'd ask you to withhold any applause until I've read the names. Bob Hirschfeld, television producer and writer. Ed Prina, financial secretary of the Press Club. Sandra McElwain, Cosmopolitan Magazine. Greg Spears, Knight Ridder Newspapers and vice president of the Press Club. Peggy Roberson, national desk editor, Hearst Newspapers. Brian Lamb, chairman and CEO of C-SPAN. Robert Hines, vice president, NBC Washington. Reginald Stewart, assistant news editor of Knight Ridder Newspapers and vice chair of the NPC Speakers Committee. Mark Shields, syndicated columnist. Bob Garfield, Advertising Age. Susan Mercandetti, Washington editor of Vanity Fair magazine. Ron Cohen, executive editor of Gannett News Service. John Price, entertainment editor of KRTN Newswire. And Lisa Stein of TV Guide. Did you see the item in the paper today? Now this is real. This is a real item from the LA Times. In a Gallup poll, 62% said they would prefer to see Johnny Carson host The Tonight Show, and only 34% prefer Jay Leno.
Well, thank you. That pretty much sums it up. Thank you very much.
62% to 34%. Isn't that something? From the March 20th LA Times. In a related item, the FBI is investigating Ed McMahon for voter fraud. But this survey, taken shortly before today's guest was named to succeed Johnny Carson, is a clue to the enormity of Jay Leno's challenge. He is following not just a tough act to follow, but a living institution. Moreover, upon following an institution, Leno is expected by his employers and others to become one. On the other hand, Leno seems well fit for the role. After 5 years as The Tonight Show's permanent guest host, a double oxymoron worthy of the Pentagon, he is already a fixture on the late-night airwaves and widely regarded as among the best, if not the best, stand-up comic working today. He is certainly the most industrious. In addition to his Tonight Show duties, he does 250 dates a year in cities from coast to coast. 250 dates a year. That's 30 more than Rich Little. And 1,400 less than Wilt Chamberlain. Leno's astonishing ability to be both hilariously trenchant and inoffensive, even poignant, is perhaps what won him the priceless Tonight Show gig. No cheap sex jokes for this guy. Although Vanity Fair's James Walcott thinks Leno has compromised his gift by avoiding risks in order to become the officially sanctioned safety valve of the middle class, the consensus is that at the age of 41, he is a comic at the top of his form, more likely to revive the sometimes moribund Tonight Show than endanger it. Certainly the look of the show will change as McMahon and bandleader Doc Severinsen follow Carson out the door. Leno has not named his sidekick, but it's clear what the job requirements are. 1, a national profile. 2, availability beginning the summer of 1992. And 3, to be a foil for Leno's ad-lib cracks. No personality of his own whatsoever. The question is, will Carey, Songus, or Wilder take the job? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jay Leno. Applaud all you want. He'll make more.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Kind of sorry my newspaper's not here. The Andover Townsman. I came from a very small town, Andover, Massachusetts, where the president went to school. Are you from that? Some people? Well, it's interesting how small papers report differently. For example, where the New York Times or the LA Times might say, Japan destroyed an earthquake, thousands, millions killed, industry in ruins. The Andover Townsman would say, local couple to cancel Asian tour. See, and then they would show the local couple and explain there'd been a mix-up and they will not be visiting Asia at this particular time. And I'm glad the Kennedy Smith trial is over, else nobody would be here probably, which is interesting. Or as Ted Kennedy said when he heard the verdict, party, party, which, yeah. You know, boy, that made the Anita Hill hearings look like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, doesn't it? Gosh, I'm glad Orrin Hatch wasn't there to be shocked again by the language. You know that, I realized after watching those hearings, there's no way that adult men can say the word panties without it sounding lascivious. I'm sorry, you know, you just can't. They would say, can we show the panties? You just can't say the word panties. Can't we say underwear? Do they have to keep saying panties over and over? It's not a word that men can say. I've never heard a man say it without sounding like a slimy pervert. You just can't. You just can't say, and these are the panties that were used. It doesn't work. Well, let's see what else is in the news. As you know, I find it kind of coincidental that Sununu resigns just about the same time Pan Am went under. You don't think there's any connection to that, do you? That the two, one was kind of keeping the other up. You think there was anything to that? You know, if you saw 60 Minutes a couple of weeks ago, you may have seen the story that on Saddam Hussein. I'm sure you all know. Apparently, he's got some sort of nuclear device. And, people always ask the same question. They always say, why didn't Bush and Powell and Schwarzkopf, why didn't they just go right into Baghdad when they had the chance and take out Saddam Hussein? Because if you heard the president's speech a couple of months ago, you know what he said. He said it is against American principles to just go into another country and remove their leader. I'll bet Noriega was glad when he heard that, huh? Yeah. He's down there in Miami in his 12-foot cell with his 9-inch TV, his little tube of Clearasil. Hey! When did they make that law? Is that a new law? Because a lot of people protested the war, especially out in Hollywood. Sinead O'Connor protested the war by not going to the Grammys. How do you think that was the best place to protest the war, the Grammys? I mean, is there a more out-of-touch group of people in the world than rock and roll musicians? Huh? You think Billy Idol even knew there was a ground war? I mean, I like Sinead O'Connor, but I think a woman's been shaving her head just a little too closely. Gee, I saw in traffic a couple of months ago, she cut herself shaving, had little pieces of toilet paper all over her head there. But most folks supported the effort. In fact, our own Vice President, Dan Quayle, I'm sure you all covered that. He went to Saudi Arabia in January. Probably saw him on the news talking the troops, boosting morale, swapping war stories with the guys, huh? Yeah. He was involved in that big battle at Terre Haute a number of years ago. Some might remember where the foursome tried to tee off in front of him. One thing led to another, but I'll tell you, hey, people pick on Dan Quayle, but you forget when President Bush had that minor heart attack, or whatever it was, a couple of months ago, and he was hospitalized. Within 20 minutes, the Secret Service had Dan Quayle right there at the president's bedside, standing by, ready to go. Okay, as a heart donor, yeah, sure, but at least he was ready to go. And I think that's the important thing, you know. Not looking much better for the Democrats. I'm from California, so we're all rooting for Jerry Brown. Jerry Brown's... You know, the only trouble Jerry Brown's candidacy is all the people who want to vote for him are locked inside that Biosphere 2 experiment. That's sort of the problem. Yeah, that's the trouble. I'm sure you all been following that Biosphere 2 experiment. 8 people living totally self-sufficient for 2 years at a cost of only $100 million. Oh, boy, there's the answer to our economic problems. You know what's interesting? They make it sound like that's a new idea. You know, these 8 people living totally self-sufficient. You know, we did the same experiment about 20 years ago. I think it was called Gilligan's Island the last time we tried to do it, the movie star. Actually, I guess they had a problem with it. You probably, well, I'm sure some of you covered it with the biosphere. About 2 weeks ago, the scientists were passing out, and they were turning blue, and they weren't getting enough oxygen. Then they realized when they built this thing, they forgot to poke holes in the top. You know, see, that's the trouble with it. But, you know. But let's get back to the Democrats quickly. Because I'm Paul Tsongas. He's from my neck of the woods, and we've been talking about him. He's liberal from Massachusetts, and he's got a Greek name. You know, that's the winning combination. That's sort of the joke we've been talking about. Have you seen his commercial with him in the Speedo bathing suit? Have you seen that ad? What is it about Democrats from Massachusetts just make them want to take their pants off and run around, huh? Is there something in the water? Is there something in the air? And Mario Cuomo, and no one knows what he's going to do. I don't know if you've seen his new public service commercial for New York City. It says, "A mind is a terrible thing to make up." Yeah. Actually, a reporter said a couple of weeks ago in a column, he says, if no prominent Democrat emerges from all of this, Ted Kennedy could have the nomination in his pocket. Now, if he could just find his pants, boy, that would be great. I put that whole thing together. But again, you know, all the comedians make fun of Ted Kennedy, but how many other 59-year-old men do you know still go to Florida for spring break? Huh? Sure. You're only as young as you feel. That's what I say. And I saw an economist on the news the other night. He said he thinks the recession is over, so I guess he must have sold his house. Huh? Yeah. Stamps are now 29 cents. Now they say it may go to 30 cents. Is that true? May go to 30 cents. Not before Christmas, but by next year. You know, people complain, but you got to look at it from the government's point of view. I mean, look what you get for that 29 cents. You put a stamp on a letter, okay? That mailman picks your letter up. He carries that letter around for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. By the time that letter gets where it's going, it's less than a penny a day. Hey, that's a heck of a deal, lady. Be glad you're not in the automobile business, boy. GM down, what, $1.1 billion, Ford down $500 million. Chrysler wants to get his reinstituted there. 0% financing. 0% financing. What's that saying to the American consumer? Look, just get it the hell out of here, okay? Look, you have to sign your real name. We'll say it was stolen. You know. But you know, it's our own fault. All the new cars look the same. They all have that aerodynamic styling. They got these new weeny little engines in them, you know. At least when I was a kid, cars had the visceral-sounding car named Buick Wildcat, Ford Mustang, Cobra, Jaguar, Stingray, Cougar. Took my wife to look at a new car about 2 weeks ago, the Ford Probe. The Probe. How do you get women to sit in this the first time, huh? It's a Probe. Ouch, just a Probe you're sitting in. What do you want to do? And it's not just the American car companies that are hurting. You see, you go in the Wall Street Journal Thursday, see the trouble they're having trying to pass the 93 crash tests? They can't get the dummy to go in the car. I mean, everybody makes fun of Yugo, but this is an actual statistic. You know, 93% of all the Yugos built since 1980 are still on the side of the road. Did you know? And this is in this month's Motor Trend. They said by 1995, many commuter cars, you know where a glove compartment is in your car now, say many commuter cars will actually have small microwave ovens under the dashboard so you can heat up a roll or something on your way to work. Huh? Now, this is a good idea, having people cooking in their cars, huh? That's bad enough. You got morons talking on the phone. Bill, I gotta go. My souffle's burning. Look out! You know, actually, you know what they sell in Japan? And I'm not making this up. Because their traffic is like 1,000 times worse than ours. In Japan, they actually sell small portable toilets that people use in their cars. Huh? Huh? You thought it was disgusting to sit in traffic and see a guy picking his nose. I'd like to get stuck on Pennsylvania Avenue behind some constipated guy. Can you go around me? Have you got any paper? No, I don't have any paper. Because I live in California now, and not a good year for California. We have droughts, we've had floods, we've had earthquakes, had a terrible fire. You probably saw that fire. I'm sure you all covered it. There's one guy I felt so sorry for. I don't know, you probably saw this man. I saw him on CNN there. Guy went back to us. Every single thing he had burned, every single thing burned to the ground, except this one little bag of easy-to-light charcoal briquettes. Gosh, that was the only thing I felt. My heart goes out. Terrible crimes, so many crazy crimes in California. Well, we just had that, what was that one up in, about 6, 7 months ago, up in, was it Oregon, Washington State? The guy putting the cyanide in the Sudafed capsule, and he said, what kind of crime is this? What kind of person would do this? Who would do something like this? Well, I guess they caught the guy. Turns the same guy, this is switching the regular coffee with the Folgers crystals. God, is that unbelievable? No, but you know, I got to thinking about it, because we Americans, we try to live in a risk-free society, you know? But you know, you can't. You can't live in a risk-free society. You ever go through life thinking your guard is up, but you know your guard is never really up. Like I had a cold about 2 weeks after I read about the Sudafed poisoning thing. You know, I said to myself, you know, I'm going to put my guard up. I'll be extra careful. You know, I'm not going to let this scare me away. I want to buy some cold medicine. I'll just check the package extra carefully. I'm in the cold remedy aisle of the supermarket. I see the cold medicine I want. I look it up. I look at it. I see it. They're cold capsules. They're vacuum sealed in plastic. They're in a white plastic bottle. They got the red locking ring around the top. None of the tabs have been broken. It's in a child-proof cap. It's in a cardboard box. It's wrapped in cellophane, and the seal is unbroken. I think, this is perfectly safe. No one's tampered with this. Yet I walk through that same market. I go by that Hickory Farms lady. Here, mister, eat this. Oh, thank you. I mean, a woman I don't even know hands me meat on a stick, and I eat it. I eat it, huh? This could have been some kind of Shiite meat bomb for all I know. I don't know who she is. Hey. Public health. Public health, that's going to be the issue. Now, both parties now are talking about some kind of national health insurance, I guess. You know, I hope they come up, because they got to come up with something, just to get these awful ads off the air, those ones that prey on the elderly and these... Are you 50 to 80 and thinking about life insurance? Come on, what 80-year-old guy is just thinking about life insurance? You know, honey, our children are in their 60s now, and... Well, God forbid if we ever have that motorcycle accident. And the benefits, if you're hospitalized, they pay you $50 a day, cash $50. How are you going to spend that kind of dough at a hospital, huh? Here's an extra $2, Doc. You give that to the head surgeon, all right? And that's not, they'll pay you $50 every day you're hospitalized, regardless of length of stay. And let's be honest, as soon as this hospital finds out you're only getting $50 a day, you'll be in a rollaway bed in the parking lot by the time you're there. Now you got the law coming into medicine. This is like this case in New Jersey that's been going on for the last 5 years with the frozen embryos. You know about this case? This couple is divorced, and I guess they have these 7 frozen embryos. Now they're fighting over custody of the frozen embryos. And of course the frozen embryos are stuck right in the middle. Huh? I mean, that's got to be tough, being a frozen embryo, don't you think? I mean, it's hard enough for kids growing up, finding out you've been adopted. Imagine finding out you've been defrosted. Gee, that's a rough thing. They get measles, now you got freezer burn and every other kind of thing coming in there. Then I read the #1 best-selling book in America, Final Exit. The book on how to commit suicide is a #1 selling book. I mean, so few Americans even bother to read books. Why are we killing the only ones that do? It doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid. Then you may have seen this 2 weeks ago. The manufacturers of the Jarvik artificial heart went out of business. How'd you like to have one of those in your chest when you read the morning paper, huh? Honey! Honey! Oh, you spent 80 grand on this thing. What do you do for parts? You can't go to the cemetery, start digging guys up. I need a... Well, I guess they worked out some kind of reciprocal arrangement now with another company. See, if your Jarvik artificial heart should fail, temporarily you can hook it up to your Reebok pump. See, that'll keep it going until yeah. I was watching the Surgeon General the other night on Nightline. Novello, first female Surgeon General in history. You know, it's interesting. A lot of people don't know we have a new Surgeon General. A lot of people still think that Coop is Surgeon General because you always see him on these public service shows and he does all the TV specials. But Coop's obviously been retired for a while. Now, he was a tough guy, Coop, wasn't he? against drugs, against sex, against drinking, against smoking. Boy, there's one retirement party you didn't want to miss, huh? Thing for the entertainment, they had a registered nurse jump out of a giant bran muffin. Boy, you can't get healthier than that. Actually, you may have seen the new Surgeon General. She was on Nightline. She was talking about, I guess, this new product the FDA approved called Simplest. You know about this? The FDA approved it about 6 months ago. It's fake fat. They take real fat out of food like ice cream, and they replace it with this new fake fat. You know, only Americans would invent fake fat, huh? I mean, half the world is starving to death, and we have people working on fake fat. And how does fake fat even work? Hey, Bob, looks like you put on a little bit of weight. Oh, fooled you, Larry. This is fake fat I'm carrying. These ripples are 100% artificial. And, of course, the big controversy in New York, I guess you all know, but they're now handing out condoms to high school students. Gee, I thought it was a big day when I got my class ring, you know. Of course, a lot of parents are upset about it. A lot of parents saying it's not a good idea. It's only going to encourage the kids to use them. I don't know. And they've been handing out algebra books for years. You can't get by use those, huh? Maybe that's the key. Make it mandatory. Well, they just passed this new bill now that allows Pizza Hut and Domino's, this is true, to deliver pizza to the public schools. Huh? Pizza, free condoms, why would anybody want to graduate now, huh? Can we have another pizza and 2 more condoms over here, Mrs. Grundy? Can we get some more condoms and we need more pizza? Thanks for study hall. I always like when the government gets involved in these kind of issues because they always politicize them. Like, I'm not making this up, you know this. The week of February 23rd is now officially National Condom Week. Boy, there's a parade you don't want to miss. Huh? What happened to Flag Day and Arbor Day? I mean, when you're a kid in the 3rd grade, what is your assignment on Condom Week? Then they always ask the private sector. You know, usually when the government gets uninterested in a topic, it's usually 6 to 8 weeks after it's on the cover of Newsweek. They always ask the private sector to help out with some of these things. Like about a year and a half ago, I picked up a copy of this magazine, Spin. You ever see this, like Rolling Stone kind of music magazine? What they were trying to do to help promote safe sex, every issue of Spin came with a free condom in the magazine. Well, you thought it was annoying when those subscription renewal forms fell out. Isn't that embarrassing? You're a guy, you're sitting in a restaurant trying to read your magazine, have lunch. Sir? Yes. You dropped your condom. What? Didn't even realize I was wearing a condom. Thank you, man. Even flying in there, a little ad in the back of the U.S. Air magazine, buy condoms by mail. Now, I know a lot of people are embarrassed to go to stores and buy by mail, but it says on the bottom there in tiny letters, allow 3 weeks for delivery. Well, here's a chance for Federal Express to make some big dough, huh? When you positively, absolutely have to have it right now. Here's how to make money. See, I think the condom manufacturers should go into business with the Domino pizza people. This way, you get your condom and your pizza all within half an hour. And let's be honest, the way most men make love, by the time they're through with the condom, the pizza will still be hot anyway, so you're in great shape, sure. This is great pizza, honey, you want some? Hey, what's the matter with her? Any more pizza in the refrigerator? Any more Coke in the refrigerator? Boy, it has changed, you know. I mean, the whole dating thing has changed. You see it, you know. I mean, I'm in this giant Dart drugstore in L.A. the other day, one of those huge Kmart-sized drugstores. You know, I got all my stuff on the conveyor belt, shaving cream and soap, whatever I'm buying. And I get up to the cashier, and attached to the cash register is just a huge cardboard display for some particular brand of condom. Now, is this really necessary to have this right at the checkout stand? I mean, is this an impulse buy for anybody? I mean, are there people that get up to the checkout stand, see the display, and go, gee, I hadn't thought about having sex, but you know, that looks like a lot of fun, doesn't it? Anyway, they had 10 reasons listed why you should buy this particular brand of condom. And the first 2 or 3 were fairly obvious. Surgeon General says safety, prevent disease. You know what number 9 was? I'm not making this up. Flame retardant. Flame retardant. Is there some new strain of single woman in the area now that... And I don't care how much you hate your job, you don't want to be the quality tester at that factory, huh, geez? Huh? Tough day at work, honey? Yes! Which kind of brings me to why I'm here. This is why. Now we've got these headline books that are out there. These are all mistakes the press has made. This is a good audience to show this to. For example, mimes banned for abusive language is one of my particular favorites. Or animal rights group to hold meeting at steakhouse. Post office paychecks lost in mail. I mean, these are all and all the money for this goes to pediatric AIDS. So far, he's raised about $400,000, and it's all the money from the book. It isn't one of those slimy deals where I have a tax deduction and I write it off or anything. I mean, we don't deduct expenses. It's 100% of the money all goes to this. And actually, I gave one to the president this morning, which was kind of neat. I was over at the White House and gave him one. He seemed to enjoy mistakes by the press. I don't know why, but. But I don't know. I guess we opened it to question. I must say, though, if I appear a little bit nervous here, it's not necessarily because the press is here, but because of one of my idols. And when I heard him laugh, I felt right at home. Mr. Mark Russell, I think you're just great. Mr. Mark Russell, thank you. Thanks. You know, I don't mean to date you by saying I grew up watching you, but I grew up watching you, so I guess I am dating you. So anyway, but I didn't try not to look. And when I heard him laugh, I went, oh, okay, he's laughing, so I can go on. So thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So do we have some questions or something? Is that what it is? Oh.
Who makes you laugh?
Oh, I see how this works. Who makes me laugh? Who's that guy in Washington plays the piano? Oh, Mark Russell makes me laugh. I always like comedians that were that kind of looked like normal people but were funny. Like Mark, like Alan King, like Johnny Carson. You know, men and women who didn't put on dresses or throw pies or do that type of thing. I always liked witty people. Were always the kind of people that made me laugh. Oh, I see that. Oh.
Would you consider helping the unemployed and hire John Sununu as your sidekick?
Oh, yeah, he would just be perfect as my sidekick. Yeah, I'll get him a copy of the Dallas Herald and the ticket on Pan Am and fly him out right away.
I understand that you met Vice President Quayle today at the White House. How did the conversation go?
Oh, fine. I mean, he was very nice. You know, I mean, I think the real trick to sort of doing this is, I like to think that people don't take these jokes personally. You know, when we do the political jokes, we do them about the politics. I don't do jokes about Barbara Bush or Marilyn Quayle because they're not the elected officials or people's families. I mean, if people say something and it's kind of funny or, I mean, obviously, I guess they do sting once in a while, but that's really not the intent. The intent is hopefully just to get a laugh. I don't think anybody can figure out my political views because I mean, half the letters say, you're obviously a Republican because of this, and the other half say, we're obviously a Democrat because of this, which is fine with me. That's sort of where I like to leave it, you know.
If you were vice president, what would you do differently from Dan Quayle?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, that's such a weighty question. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea, really. What I do differently? I don't really know what the job of vice president entails. I haven't been able to, like most of you, I'm as confused, so I have no idea. So,
From your professional point of view, who would be your favorite 1992 presidential nominee?
now, who would be the best one, the best nominee for jokes? Well, David Duke, if it wasn't so pathetic. That's a good joke. I had a good joke. I said I was watching TV last night, and I thought I saw my first condom ad on television. Then I realized, oh, just David Duke with a sheet on. But no, that was...
Who is America's politician that most lends himself or herself to joke material, and why?
Oh, I think we already covered that. I don't know. I mean, this is the best time of year, I think, isn't it, with all the Democrats running? And, I mean, this is obviously the best time, the time when people are most politically aware. The real trick to doing, I think, political jokes is it's not what I know, it's what most people know. I find if something breaks in the paper that day, I almost have to wait 2 or 3 days, really, to cover it on the show because people don't know what you're talking about. But I find the American public seems to be becoming more aware. Maybe it's because of the CNN and all the things that are happening, people just seem to be more politically aware. Like a few years ago, I think if you were doing jokes about John Sununu and Fitzwater and all these people, I don't think they would work quite as well as they seem to now. People just seem to be geared into this, so luckily for me, it's working okay.
Why do so few comedians, yourself excluded, make so little fun of politicians?
Well, you know, you get into a thing, you know, when I started in comedy, everybody was kind of clean, and the few people that worked dirty were sort of like, oh, this is shocking and new, and I've sort of remained standing just because everybody else has gotten so filthy. I mean, it's true. You know, when Carlin and Klein and all and Richard Pryor, I mean, they're generally funny. Whether they work clean or dirty makes no difference. It's generally funny. I think in the last few years, you've just seen a lot of people with cable and whatnot. There's no reason to clean it up because you got the job anyway. In fact, most of the cable shows seem to encourage you to be a little bluer than you might normally be because that's what people are allegedly paying for. But I don't find that to be true. If jokes are clever, to me it's funnier to dance around a subject to allude to something than just to come right out and say it. And since I don't do wife jokes or gay jokes or hopefully it's not sexist jokes, pretty much leaves the politicians, I think. What else you can do there?
Has the recession/economy given you a lot of fodder for your jokes?
Oh yeah, it's pretty good. As I mentioned last night, more people have lost weight and kept it off under the George Bush economic plan than Jenny Craig plan, yeah. Yeah.
Once you take over The Tonight Show, will you bring it back to New York City where it originated and belongs?
I don't think so. That's the first time I've heard of that. No, I don't think so. I mean, Letterman already does his show in New York, so it would be... Actually, they went to California because it's easier to get guests, you know. I mean, if you're in New York, you just can't have hundreds of homeless people on every night, you know. It's a little tiring, you know.
Does your contract convey to the next owner of NBC?
I was talking with Mike Eisner about that this morning, and no, I have no idea. I imagine this is sort of like whoever buys the Mustang Ranch gets to keep whoever works there. I think it's pretty much the same type of thing, you know.
Tell us how you got your start, and did you spend time in the principal's office in school?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was a sort of Jay has the ability, but does not apply himself student. Yeah, I guess I got started in this. I mean, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I grew up in a small town in New England where, you know, it's funny to me when I meet kids in Los Angeles, they're 8 and 9, they want to be lighting directors, you know. I mean, I never met anybody that knew anybody that was even in show business. So, but I did have a teacher, a creative writing teacher who has since passed away, Mrs. Hawks, which was a tremendous influence on me because she said, you know, you're always doing these stupid things. Why don't you write them down and maybe for your creative writing class, take my creative writing class and write some of these stories down. And it was the first time I ever enjoyed doing homework, actually. She was a terrific teacher. And I would write down what I thought was funny, you know, and actually spend more time on my homework than I was supposed to. And then she'd have me get up in class and read them. And sometimes they were funny. They were probably juvenile if I look back at them. But I thought, well, gee, and she used to say, you know, you could make a living doing this. And I said, really? You think so? Yeah. And that's pretty much how I got started.
Who was your inspiration and your mentor? Who influenced you the most?
Oh, I don't think I had one mentor, really. I always enjoyed Johnny Carson. I mean, the thing I always liked about Johnny was every night he would do a monologue. You know, most comedians, when they host these kind of shows, for the first year they do a monologue and then they kind of whittle it down to opening remarks, or then music would play and they just tell you who was on the show. You know, Johnny always did a monologue every single night. I mean, he did one the night, Kennedy was assassinated, I'm sure. He did one the night in Vietnam. I mean, no matter what was in the news, Johnny always had a monologue. Good, bad, whatever happened, he had something to say about it. And I always thought that was pretty amazing. He never came out and said, well, the world's pretty depressing today, I don't want to joke about this. He always had a joke. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but he always had one. So that was always a big influence on me, that's your job. Your job is to go out there and make them laugh. When times are good, well, great, everybody can laugh. But when times are bad, that's when you earn your money, you know.
Do your parents think you're funny?
I don't. Well, you know, whenever I do a show and my mother's in the audience, you know, she'll always be sitting like, what? I mean, she's amazed. She's amazed. You know, she has this look on her face like she just doesn't understand what's all the nonsense. You know, one time the one time I played Carnegie Hall, my mother's sitting right there, and there's a man sitting behind her laughing loudly, and my mother just went, shh. I said, Ma, you know, You know, I said, stop the show. I said, Ma, what are you doing? She goes, well, I can't hear. I said, well, don't shush people. You're not even laughing, Ma. The guy's enjoying the show. Don't shush the man. And my mother actually, she went shh, shh to the guy. What are you doing, Ma?
What do you watch weeknights at 11:30?
Well, since I usually tape the Tonight Show, I usually try to see what Nightline is doing as it slips closer and closer to Geraldo there. But no, it's... I was like, what they have the other night? Willie Smith trial! Then something else. But when you watch it, it was something else. But no, I enjoy it. Actually, I enjoy the news shows. I'm a big fan of the news programs, and so I watch a lot of news shows.
What do you think has made you such a humble person, despite your rise to fame?
Who wrote that, me?
What's your philosophy? No. What's your philosophy for keeping your feet on the ground?
Don't bathe regularly. No, I mean, I think if you travel around the country, and, you know, if you do this type of thing every day, and I'm sure Mark will tell you the same thing, when you walk out there and you just think you're the greatest thing, and you walk out and you have to do a show in the afternoon for 300 Nissan dealers who just had 100 cars sink off the coast of Madagascar somewhere. You know, and they're just sitting there going, what? You know, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's not like being a singer where you stand up there and you can be in your old world and stare into the spotlight. You know, when you have to look people in the eye and they're not laughing, I mean, it's a pretty humbling experience there, you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know if you saw, God, I watched the other night Jerry Brown going around to restaurants in Littleton, New Hampshire, was it? I think you said the other night, and just shaking hands with this guy who was trying to eat his eggs. I'm Jerry Brown, I'm running for president. The guy just went, what? I mean, it's so awful. It's humiliating. So,
As David Letterman would say, you seem like a regular guy. How do you like being around all those Hollywood phonies?
oh, it's wonderful. I enjoy those phonies. Oh, they're wonderful. They're great phonies. Well, I mean, I don't know. I tend to have the same friends I always had. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of Hollywood phonies, as opposed to Washington, where there are no phonies, certainly here. Certainly not. Yes, this is just the pinnacle of truth. Yeah, there are no phonies in Washington, no. Some of those Des Moines phonies, too. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Have you and David Letterman made up?
Well, I'm on the show tonight. There's nothing to make up. I mean, that really was sort of tabloid things. I think if David had a problem with NBC over some things, but there's never any problem with us. I mean, I'm on the program tonight. You can watch. I have to be there at 4 o'clock, so I don't think there's a problem.
Do you plan to make a peace offering?
There's no peace offering. I mean, there's nothing to make up. This is, you know, there is no problem. We've talked on the phone about this. I mean, David and I are good friends. I don't think there's any problem, but apparently you guys might know more than I do at this point.
How did you get involved in working for pediatric AIDS?
Oh, well, my manager, Helen Kushnick, had one of the first babies to die of this disease. It was 1983. And the baby was given, I don't know, 10 cc's of blood, some infantile, small amount, like hospitals sometimes do to make the baby look a little, you know, perkier or whatever. And there was no medical reason for it, at least I'm told that. And it was tainted blood. And 3 years later, the baby caught a cold, and of course the immune system being what it was, there was no immune system, and the baby died. And no one would believe that the blood was tainted. I mean, it was a horrible situation. I mean, going from funeral home to funeral home, just trying to get somebody to bury the baby because nobody would touch. Oh, it's AIDS, and oh no. And Sam's twin sister Sarah was asked to leave every school she went to because her brother died of AIDS, even though she had tested negative. She had no problem. They went through everything from people accusing Jerry, who has since passed away also, of having sex with the child. Oh, that's how you must have gotten it. Oh, something like that. There must have been something else because the blood couldn't be tainted, and nobody would believe it. And finally, through the efforts of Helen Kushnick and some other people, they managed to get some laws passed and some things where blood can be tested, and that's how I got involved in it. So all the proceeds from this book go to the Samuel Jared Kushnick Foundation, which, and it's not just sort of Bunsen burners and test tubes. You know, a lot of times there are kids in hospitals who, well, I mean, you're 7 years old, you've got AIDS, you're sitting in the hospital. You know, kids don't want to watch The Bold and the Beautiful and all this type of thing. So we buy VCRs, we buy all the Disney tapes. You know, so at least if kids are going to spend some time in the hospital, they can they can watch things they'd like to see and buy Nintendo games, and research also. I mean, I've got a whole list of places that the money has gone to, various organizations, hospice, whatever. But as I said, it's 100% of the money goes there. It comes in and we send the people a check. There's no, $1,500 for stationery, and there's no office or any of that kind of nonsense. I mean, all the money goes directly to the kids and the people who administer it to the kids. So yeah, it's a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing.
Do you read newspapers?
No. Oh, yes.
Which ones, and do you get material from them?
Oh, yeah, I get most of my material from the paper. I read, I'm in LA, so I read the LA Times, read the New York Times, USA Today. I enjoy the Think and Do page in the back, by the way. My favorite part of the paper. And again, whatever town I'm in, you always try to pick up the local papers. But yeah, the most of the material comes actually from the paper, not really from TV, because with TV I can't check it. I mean, it's I've never had a problem with this. I'm quite proud that if I read a quote in the paper, I call and I say, did Quayle really say this? Or whoever it may be, and I've got the paper to prove it, and I write down on the little 3x5 card, this is the quote, this is where it came from, this is the source. So if anybody says, hey, I never said that, or, that didn't happen that way, or I can go back to it. So actually, the newspapers are more helpful that way than television,
How do you decide when news is no longer timely for humor, i.e. Saddam Hussein is no longer a target? Does timeliness...
It's next to godliness. Apparently the writer got bored. And I thought it was a stupid question. It just trails off. These are writers. These are newspaper. These are reporters that wrote this. Unbelievable. The question just trails off. Well, obviously, when people sort of tire of a subject, you get a feel for it. Something gets a big laugh, and then the next day it kind of doesn't get. The topic just sort of winds its way down. Obviously, Reagan at Pittsburgh hardly works at all anymore. He sort of goes through that. But I mean, it's just sort of common sense. As a comedian, you tend to know when something is past its prime.
How much of your material do you still write?
I write most of my material. When I do the monologue, I have people that I work with, friends and writers that submit things to me. I compile it and rewrite it and do all of that. No, I can't say I write all the jokes in the monologue. No, I try to write as many as I can. And the writers that I have on my staff, which are not the Tonight Show writers, they're separate people that I pay, we sit around my kitchen table at night and put it together. I mean, it's a lot of fun to just sort of sit at the kitchen table, put something together, drive over to network TV, and go up and tell it. It's the same thing I used to do when I was working in nightclubs. Instead of telling it to 75 or 100 people, you tell it to, hopefully 7 or 8 million people.
What is the best joke you've ever heard? Oh. And what is the funniest joke you've ever told?
Well, there is no best joke, really. I don't think. I mean, sometimes, again, the shelf life of these jokes is, for example, here's a joke I don't even think is funny, but got a particularly big laugh, because I think I was the first person to do it. It's kind of a silly joke. It was 1987. I just use it as an example, but remember the stock market had crashed, Black Monday, whatever it was. I mean, the stock market crashed all day on the news, just all day on the news, the constant what's going to happen in the economy, people jumping out of buildings, blah, blah, blah. The Tonight Show was delayed 20 minutes so they could do a special report on this. And I walked out on stage. The first joke I said was, I talked to my stockbroker today. I said, waiter, just stupid joke, Now, it's not really that funny a joke, but there was so much tension in the audience. People are so tense. They're going, oh, gee, what's going to happen on it? And it got a huge laugh, way out of proportion to how funny the joke really is. It just got a big laugh because nobody, at least I think I was the first person to get on television with a joke about the stock market crash, so it worked pretty well, but it's hard to pin down. I have a few, but I can't tell them here, actually, but that's what I'm really trying to say. I told Bob Kerry this lesbian joke a while back. No.
This questioner says, I'm a banking reporter and I need to justify my presence at this lunch. So,
Have you heard any good banking jokes lately?
Any good banking jokes? Well, I know that in the Charles Keating affair, the good news is the investors are suing to get some of their money back. The bad news is there isn't any money there. They may have to settle for having Alan Krantz to come over and do yard work once or twice a week. Yeah. So it just...
Is it true that Branford Marsalis is going to be the new Tonight Show band leader?
Well, we're talking with him. He's someone I would certainly like to get. I mean, it's a matter of working out these things. I think he'd be a terrific choice, and hopefully I'm trying to get him. If it all goes through, I think it'd be terrific. Yeah, but I'd like to. It's not definite yet, but my fingers crossed.
Will the Tonight Show bashing of GE continue? What's behind it?
Probably won't even be GE by the time I get there, but I don't know. I have no idea. What's behind it? Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not doing any of the GE bashing. You'd probably have to talk to, Johnny and whatnot. I'm not going to speak for somebody else, but it's kind of a tricky question there.
When it's your program, will the show repeats include the very topical monologue, which is terrific the day it happens, but is old news 6 months later?
Well, I'm going to do the show 5 days a week. And I think we're doing 48, 49 weeks a year. I think the network has to have, amortize the cost deal. I would do it straight through, actually, but they want to, they need repeats for something, so you try to keep them as topical again as you can, but, they repeat the show as it ran. They're not going to, I don't think you write a new monologue and stick it in an old show or anything like that.
After The Tonight Show, what's next?
Letterman comes after The Tonight Show. What's that? I haven't even got the job yet. You got me moving on to another job. Hopefully I'd be there for a long time, I hope.
How difficult is it to be on the road so much, and does your wife travel with you?
My wife always travels with me. She didn't come today because she was in England with her mom. They got back yesterday, and I'm just here for the day. But yeah, we always travel together. We have a lot of fun with it. It's really not hard, because it's not like being a musician where you have to be there at 3 o'clock and you got to set up and you got to meet the local music teacher who's going to be your backup band. You don't have to go through all of that. I just show up and it's just the mic and you talk in this thing and then you write joke, tell joke, get check is really the way it runs. You just write joke, tell joke, get check. It's a very simple process.
On a serious note, how would you solve our economic problem?
Oh, I'm glad we got to that. Thank you. I was hoping. I think one way, instead of giving money to the Soviet Union, it would be easier to perhaps just send them round-trip plane tickets, have them come over here, buy up all the stuff they want, and go back. Wouldn't that be easier? Might be easier, but not funnier. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the idea of legislatively capping credit card interest rates?
I'm glad you asked me about that. I don't know a whole lot about this. I know they don't want to cap the rates because that way they will no longer be able to give cards to people who don't deserve them, which I will then have to pay for. It doesn't make any sense to me. But...
Do people strain to be funny when they're around you? And if so, how awkward is it?
Like your opening monologue. Well, I think you've all seen just how awkward it can be. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm not someone who sort of, I don't, people kind of expect you to squirt them with water or to have a joy buzzer or something. But no, I don't think people do. I think people are fairly comfortable around me. I don't see people trying overly hard to be funny. Every now and then you run into some sort of obnoxious person, but I think they would probably... I don't mean... No, I'm not looking at you here. I don't mean that. No. But I think those kind of people do it to everybody, so...
There are comedian jokes and long-form normal people jokes. Do you have a favorite normal people joke?
Again, I'm not familiar with those two forms of jokes, being fairly new to the business. Long-form normal people jokes. Who wrote this question? All right, where did this come from? I don't even know what that means. I have stories. When you do the Tonight Show, you really trying to cram like an hour's monologue into 7 minutes, so you go bang, 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 you know, set up, punch, set up, punch, set up, punch. When you work on the road, you can tell long-winded stories. That's probably what you're talking about. I mean, I enjoy talking about my parents and those kind of things, and those stories sometimes take 5 or 6 minutes to tell, which, you know, people's attention span on television is, you know, you go into 30 seconds without a laugh, a click, you know.
When you met with President Bush, did he show you the socks he bought to stimulate the economy?
No. No, I think they're on tour. I did not see them. I know so many Americans want to see them. You know, that kind of made me laugh, that whole idea. He bought socks for his grandchildren for Christmas. Huh? He thinks he's unpopular now. Wait till Christmas morning, huh? Jeez. Please. Because you know, Gaddafi and Hussein are giving their kids Game Boy and Nintendo, and gee, Bush's kids get this stupid socks. Socks from your grandfather. What kind of gift is that?
What plans do you have to appeal to a younger audience for the Tonight Show?
Well, I had Mark Shields on Tuesday, so that was pretty good. I mean, I don't know if you have some music acts on. You know, if a show is interesting, I think it sort of appeals to everybody. I had Molly Ivins. I'm sure you know Molly. She was on the show the other night. I enjoy having people on that have something to say. You know, years ago when an actor or an actress, when they had a movie to plug or something, they'd come on a show, and the only time you'd hear them tell their funny story about falling down on the set or whatever was on The Tonight Show. Now there's so many outlets like Entertainment Tonight and all these shows. Sometimes by the time these people get to a Tonight Show, you've heard that story. You know, you've heard it 2 or 3 times, and you've got the package with the clip and all those type of things. So when you have people on like Mark, like McLaughlin, like Molly Ivins, I enjoyed John Chancellor. He's been on a few times. When you have media people on who are interesting, have something funny to say, boy, we get tremendous reaction from it, and from young people. You know, people like something smart. It doesn't. I don't think you appeal to young people by talking down to them. You know, there's this tendency now, this dumbing down of books where they take classic stories and they change the word porridge to sandwich because they say little kids won't know what porridge is, so you change it to sandwich and all this stuff. But if you talk to young people the way you talk to an adult in an intelligent manner, people like it. I mean, Mark was terrific the other night. I don't know if you saw him Tuesday night. He got a lot of laughs on the show. I don't know, is that a young thing? Is that an old thing? I don't know if it's funny. It's funny. I mean, obviously, you try with some music groups and maybe some of the younger stars, you know, from Beverly Hills 90210 and those kind of people. Sure, that all helps. But if something's interesting and someone has something to say, I think it crosses all levels.
Do you aspire to public office?
Yes, I wanted to get to that. Yes, but no, I don't. I didn't even want to be here. So, gosh, I can't imagine. No, I'm teasing. No, gosh, no, please. We already had one actor, and you saw what happened.
What did you think of Geraldo Rivera's Tell-All book?
Excellent. Excellent book. Again, I haven't read the book yet. I've just met many of the women involved, but I haven't read the book. I haven't read the book, I have to be honest.
What's your opinion of Clarence Thomas as a Supreme Court justice?
Is he the guy in People magazine? That was interesting. Gee, we had a lot of jokes about that. That was fun to watch. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to. The guy's already got the job, so anything I say isn't going to make any difference. But again, it was interesting. It was, for those that don't have cable, it was fun to be able to hear those words for free, you know.
Before asking the last question, I'd like to give you a certificate of appreciation.
Oh, thank you.
And a National Press Club mug.
Oh, and I have the mug, ladies and gentlemen. And it rubs right off. Oh, well, thank you. I've got a mug and a little thing here. Oh, well, thanks.
And the last question is, what do you really want for Christmas?
7 or 8 more Democratic nominees. I think would be the best gift. But again, anyway, listen, you guys, this has been great fun. Thank you for letting me come and talk to you. And again, and as I said before, it was a pleasure to perform in front of one of my idols, Mr. Mark Russell. Although many people here are important, you know, that was kind of the big one for me. So thanks, you guys. Bye-bye.